We're going to be starting on section 3 of this video, which is all about low fidelity prototyping. Hopefully in the last video you sketched out some really great options for your list format, right? Followed along and created something that is, sketched quickly and done there. Now, this will be helpful in kind of creating and prototyping first. And we'll talk about why prototyping is so essential in the iterative design and testing process. Prototypes are fundamental to how we think through systems and test things and create. And we'll look at some options at which we can prototype with. We'll talk about why prototyping is so important in the relationship of communicating and doing user testing. And we'll get excited about the journey. So let's get started. Why prototype? UX is about building stuff, Envision, and other tools. Now, in this section of the course, we'll essentially be looking at how business and user research leads to low fidelity solutions, right? We start sketching first, and then we prototype through these sketches to test and iterate our solutions and share out our process, right? The relationship is that we want to learn fast and we want to solve the problems that we need to solve. Now, prototyping first is key to helping us exchange value for our services, whether it's a product or a good, or it's helping our users make a list. Prototyping allows us to make our ideas tangible. We start with really cheap materials like paper as a way to kind of quickly get at that relationship. Now, in prototyping, it's at the heart of our low fidelity sketching idea. It's the starting process of our iterative design cycle. We sketch, we present, we critique, we review these things over and over again. And if we put them into tangible relationships, they then can be handled by our users, they can be reviewed and looked at by our clients, and they can be cycled through this sketch, design, critique, prototype, interact, and critique that interaction, and then test, validate, and iterate your cycles, right? All these things go through many processes. Now, in designing for screens and for interactions, there's lots and lots of tools, and they only get more over time. Now, part of being a good UX designer and UI designer is that you have to kind of be familiar with these tools and then also be comfortable with learning new tools all the time. There's no killer app or killer software suite or anything that's there that can kind of help create what you want. Now, there are tools that come out that make your life easier, and there's industry standards with things like Sketch. XD has become kind of more common, but there's a lot of tools. And what we'll kind of talk about is by reviewing these tools, you get a better sense of what this equals. Now, Prototyper.io is a nice blog for reviewing and understanding all of these tools. Now, all these tools exist in Prototyper, and you can also follow their blog, and they give a lot of great tutorials, review some things. You can kind of see what is good for fidelity, what is great for wireframing, and it allows us to analyze some of these tools and translate what they equal. Now, by exploring these many options that you have in front of you for prototyping, we'll kind of concentrate on a few aspects. We're really going to concentrate on using Envision and then translating some of these things as we do that. No, I'll talk to you about why Envision is the winner in this output. If you're not familiar with Envision, it's a really great online platform that is continuing to change and iterate, and it's really useful for building the things that we're doing now because it's widely used by industry, it communicates value really quickly, and you create conversations, and it plays nicely with other software suites like Sketch and Photoshop and other these tools. But mostly it's about building together and making things that are useful. If you haven't created or you don't have an account on Envision, I highly recommend going to Envision app and signing up for an account. You get one free account in your process. So go to prototypeenvisionapp.com, sign up, and log in, create your credentials, and have an account because we're going to be using Envision to build out our processes as we go. Now, Envision is a really useful tool, and you'll see some more, and we'll discuss it in later videos. But part of this process is that Envision and prototyping at its core really helps facilitate this iterative cycle conversation, right? We build faster together because we can create things, we can communicate on outputs, and it really starts to translate for the 3 or more phases and stages of prototyping, right? We want to produce a lot of ideas in the inspire portion. We're trying to solve a problem that we think will work. We then choose and evolve those ideas and iterate on them until we can kind of validate and move into validating and testing our final solutions. And this happens over time, and tools that help us monitor these things are really great. So let's get excited for continuing the UX journey and improving our prototyping, because prototyping allows us to fail early and often. Now, if you can fail early, you learn a lot and it doesn't cost you a lot of money. But the relationship of why we prototype is that it allows us to validate our ideas, get things in front of our users, and launch the products that have more opportunity to succeed. And IDEO from San Francisco, which we've talked about before, and the design thinking process is all about trying to understand that if you prototype early and you make your ideas as tangible as you can, you then will validate and know whether options are allowed to succeed.